Have you ever heard of Boldenone? The name might ring a bell, especially if you're into bodybuilding or have ever been curious about anabolic steroids. Boldenone, which you might also know by its commercial names like Equipoise or Equifort, is an injectable steroid that became popular in gym circles, but its origin might surprise you. Believe it or not, Boldenone was originally made for veterinary use. Yep, it wasn't designed for humans at all. It was created for large animals, especially horses. The goal? Help them gain weight, improve conditioning, and even boost the quality of their coat. So yeah, this compound was born with a pretty noble purpose, but meant for a stable, not a squat rack. The development of Boldenone dates back to the 1940s and 50s, during a time when scientists were searching for therapeutic alternatives to treat serious medical conditions in humans. Things like osteoporosis or muscle-wasting diseases, also called catabolic conditions. And for a while, it actually was prescribed to people. But by the time the 1970s rolled around, its clinical use was completely phased out. And why was it pulled? Simple. The risks outweighed the benefits. Even though it had anabolic potential, Boldenone came with a laundry list of side effects. As medical science advanced, safer and more effective alternatives became available. From then on, its use was locked down strictly to veterinary medicine. Still, when it comes to building muscle fast and chasing that aesthetic physique, Boldenone didn't just disappear. Despite being banned for human use in many countries, including the US, it found its way into the underground world of performance enhancement, especially among bodybuilders. The reason? It earned a reputation for delivering steady, lean muscle gains. Today, it's often used illegally and without medical supervision, which only adds to the danger. In the world of bodybuilding, where visible results are the main reward and physical evolution is what drives motivation, some substances take on an almost legendary status, and Boldenone is definitely one of them. Even though it was made for horses, it's earned its place in gym culture for one big reason. It works, but only under very specific conditions. So why do bodybuilders still chase after Boldenone? One major reason is its consistent anabolic effect. It doesn't give you those crazy overnight gains that scream steroid use, but it does something a lot of athletes value more. It builds lean muscle mass that sticks around even after you cycle off. No puffing up and deflating here. This is about solid gains. Another plus is the boost in physical strength. When you're stronger, you can train harder, lift heavier, and push more volume. That means faster progress in the gym, if you're also keeping your diet, recovery, and sleep in check. And let's not forget one of Boldenone's most hyped visual effects, vascularity. We're talking about that dry, veiny look that screams low body fat and high definition, something many competitors chase hard for the stage. But maybe one of the most unexpected side effects of Boldenone is the massive increase in appetite. For athletes in a bulking phase, this is a game changer. Eating enough to grow can be a struggle, and anything that ramps up your hunger makes it easier to hit those high-calorie, high-protein targets. It keeps your body in an anabolic state, perfect for packing on size, especially when you're training hard every day. For serious lifters, that boost in conditioning is like gold. To really understand why Boldenone is still such a hot topic in the fitness world, we've got to go deeper into what it actually does inside the body. Because here's the truth, it's not just about taking a shot and watching your biceps grow. What makes Boldenone powerful and risky is how it works on a chemical level. First up, Boldenone helps the body retain nitrogen in the muscles. Sounds technical, but this matters a lot. Nitrogen is a key building block of protein. When your body holds onto more nitrogen, it creates a perfect environment for muscle growth. Basically, it sets the stage for your muscles to grow, if you're training hard and eating right. On top of that, Boldenone boosts protein synthesis. That means your body gets better at turning the protein you eat into actual muscle tissue. So when this process is firing at full speed, all those reps, sets, and hours in the gym don't go to waste. They're maximized. Every drop of sweat pays off more when your body's in that optimized, muscle-building mode. One really important effect of Boldenone, though it doesn't get talked about as much, is how it boosts erythropoietin production in the kidneys. Erythropoietin, or EPO, is the hormone that tells your body to make more red blood cells. And why does that matter? Because red blood cells are what carry oxygen to your muscles. More oxygen means more energy and better endurance. especially during long, brutal training sessions. That extra red blood cell production also helps prevent anemia. Now, obviously that's not the main reason bodybuilders mess with this compound, but it does highlight why Boldenone was once studied for clinical use. It improves overall blood health and oxygen flow, which has a direct impact on physical performance. But here's the thing, none of these effects mean anything if you're not training hard, eating right, and staying consistent. Without structure and responsibility, even the most effective compound can turn into a serious problem. Still, despite all the warnings, a lot of people decide to try Boldenone on their own. And that's where things get sketchy. Since it's a veterinary drug and banned for human use, anyone using it is basically treating themselves like a lab rat. No real safety standards, no medical oversight. And yet, you'll find these underground guides floating around on forums and bodybuilding subreddits, breaking down how to run a cycle with it. For men, the most common dosing ranges from 300 to 600 milligrams per week, typically delivered through intramuscular injections. Some people go for one shot per week, while others split it into 2 or even 3 doses to try and reduce side effects. A full cycle usually lasts 8 to 12 weeks, with the goal of putting on lean, quality mass without looking too bloated. Now for women, it gets way trickier. The doses are much smaller, usually around 50 to 100 milligrams per week, and the cycle length is capped at 6 to 8 weeks, max. Why? Because the female body is way more sensitive to androgenic compounds, and even low doses can trigger signs of virilization. Things like a deeper voice, facial hair, and other unwanted, often irreversible changes. Here's the bottom line. There's no such thing as a safe dose of Boldenone for humans. None. Every use is considered off-label, medically unauthorized, and risky. And all those internet protocols, they're based on anecdotal experiences, not real scientific studies. And if you think you can just stop the cycle and everything goes back to normal, think again. After using Boldenone, you have to go through post-cycle therapy, PCT, to help restart your body's natural testosterone production, which takes a big hit during the cycle. If you skip this step, you could end up with a messed up hormonal system for months, or even years. We're talking low sex drive, poor performance, mood swings, even full-blown depression. When people get into the world of steroids, they start comparing different compounds. Each one has its own effects, risks, and quirks. Boldenone is often hyped as a mild option, especially when compared to heavier hitters like Trenbolone or Anadrol, oxymethylone. But does it really deserve that gentle reputation? First off, keep in mind that Boldenone is a derivative of testosterone, the base hormone for most anabolic steroids. But unlike straight testosterone, it has a lower androgenic profile. That means users typically see fewer side effects related to masculine traits like acne, hair loss, or excessive body hair, especially when Boldenone is used on its own. Another thing that draws people to Boldenone is that it barely aromatizes. Aromatization is when testosterone converts into estrogen, which can cause stuff like gynecomastia, aka man boobs, and water retention. Since Boldenone doesn't aromatize much, there's a lower risk of estrogen-related side effects, and it helps users maintain a dry, defined physique during their cycle. But don't let that fool you. Boldenone is still a strong compound. Using it without medical supervision can throw your hormones way off balance, mess with your cardiovascular system, and lead to side effects that creep in slowly but stick around for the long haul. And because it's seen as less intense, a lot of people underestimate the risks, which is exactly what makes it so dangerous. On one hand, Boldenone sounds tempting, clean, consistent gains, solid muscle without the bloating. But on the other hand, it comes with a laundry list of side effects that can't be ignored. And here's the kicker. A lot of these side effects don't show up right away. They sneak in slowly, quietly, and by the time they show themselves, it might be too late. It's the classic hidden cost that only hits after the hype of the cycle fades. Some of the most common side effects are the usual suspects if you've looked into steroid use before: acne and oily skin. Sounds minor, but for many people, those skin changes can hit hard on self-esteem. Then there's hair loss, especially if you're already genetically prone to male pattern baldness. It can fast-track that process big time. But the part that raises the biggest red flags? The psychological effects. Boldenone can mess with your brain chemistry, mood swings, anxiety, insomnia, irritability, even depression. And in extreme cases, it can lead to aggressive outbursts or suicidal thoughts. The scariest part is that this can happen even if you've never had mental health issues before. It's not just physical, this stuff can mess with your mind. So yeah, by now it should be pretty clear. Boldenone is far from being a harmless supplement. But let's go even deeper, because what's really at stake here isn't just breakouts or mood swings. We're talking about serious health risks, including damage to vital organs, and in the worst-case scenario, death. Let's start with the cardiovascular system. The damage here can be totally silent until it turns deadly. Boldenone can cause cardiac hypertrophy. That's an abnormal thickening of the heart muscle, which makes it less efficient. It can also raise blood pressure and completely screw up your cholesterol levels. LDL, bad cholesterol, goes up. HDL, good cholesterol, goes down. That combo is a fast track to heart attacks, strokes, and other cardiovascular diseases. Then there's the hormonal damage. For men, we're talking infertility, low sperm count, and a serious drop in libido. For women, it can mess with menstrual cycles, trigger virilization, like voice deepening and facial hair, and also lead to infertility. And both sexes are at risk of developing long-term sexual dysfunction that doesn't always go away once the cycle ends. Let's not forget the liver. Boldenone can cause intrahepatic cholestasis, a condition where bile stops flowing properly in the liver. It's also been linked to drug-induced hepatitis, benign tumors, and in extreme cases, liver cancer. And the scariest part? These issues often develop silently, with zero symptoms, until it's way too late to fix. And if that wasn't enough, there are kidney risks, too. Prolonged use can overwhelm the kidneys, leading to chronic kidney disease. Conditions like glomerulosclerosis and glomerulonephritis damage your ability to filter toxins from the blood. In some cases, people end up on dialysis, which is an intense and permanent form of treatment. That's why whenever someone talks about steroids like they're harmless shortcuts, the alarms need to go off. This isn't just about looking shredded, it's about life and long-term health. And if you thought all those side effects vanish the moment the cycle ends, think again. One of the biggest and most dangerous traits of Boldenone is how long it stays in your system. This stuff has a half-life of up to 21 days, meaning it stays active in your body for weeks after the last shot. But here's what really blows people away. Boldenone can be detected in drug tests for up to 18 months, or even longer depending on your metabolism, how much you took, and how long your cycle was. So even months later, you could still pop positive on a test. For competitive athletes, this is a total deal breaker. If you're subject to WADA or USADA testing, Boldenone is practically a guaranteed DQ. There's no trick to beat the test. No masking agent. No lucky break. It will show up, and you'll face serious consequences. So here's the final question we all need to ask before touching any substance that can change your body. Is it legal? When it comes to Boldenone, the answer is pretty straightforward. In most countries, including the US, using it in humans is illegal. It's only approved for veterinary use, mostly in horses. Any attempt to use it on yourself is considered illegal, unsafe, and completely outside of medical guidelines. In the US, Canada, Australia, and most of Europe, Boldenone is banned for human use, and for good reason. The health risks are serious, and there just aren't any long-term human studies proving it's safe. But let's be real. The reality in gyms and behind the scenes in bodybuilding is a whole different story. Boldenone still circulates illegally, often under fake names or misleading labels. And that brings us to one of the biggest dangers, counterfeit products. Since it's banned, people turn to the black market, buying ampoules from shady sources, without really knowing what's going into their body. The risk? Off the charts. A lot of these underground products don't even contain real Boldenone. Or worse, they're mixed with other random, contaminated, or poorly made compounds that can lead to severe allergic reactions, infections, liver or kidney failure, or in some cases, death. And sadly, people usually don't realize what happened until it's too late. The damage is already done. On top of that, since it's illegal, there's zero quality control, no regulation, no oversight on dosage, sterility, or even what's in the vial. It's basically Russian roulette with your health. You have no idea what you're really injecting. And yeah, some people might say, well, I've used it and I was fine. But every body reacts differently. All it takes is one bad shot or a contaminated batch to wreck your health for good. After everything we've broken down so far, it's pretty hard to keep pretending Boldenone is some kind of mild steroid. That soft reputation? Mostly built on shallow videos and unverified personal stories that ignore the real dangers behind the use of this compound. The cold, hard truth? Boldenone wasn't made for humans, and using it means gambling with your own life. If you found this video helpful and appreciate content that tells it like it is, hit that like button. It really helps us keep bringing you more deep dive topics like this. Make sure to subscribe and tap the bell so you don't miss what's coming next. And hey, before you go, check out the video that just popped up on your screen. I'll see you there.